Good morning, sir.
So glad to meet you again. Today, actually, Waziz Ahmad is in this class. Mr. Waziz, he is in senior outgoing batch. Waziz, maybe he is there in outgoing. Okay. Sir, today we are exploring about Waziz is in this class. Yeah. Okay. So, today I have to do two things. Don't you think writing this equation is a nuisance? The KMnO4 permanganate is reacting with hydrogen peroxide in presence of sulfuric acid to give me K2SO4, MnSO4 and 5 moles of oxygen and 8 moles of water. Beautiful. Suppose I have 100 ml of 0.1 molar KMnO4 solution, permanganate solution. The permanganate where manganese is plus 7 is always fond of taking electrons. If I am looking at nitric acid where nitrogen is plus 5, he is always fond of taking electrons. If I look at H2SO4 where sulfur is plus 6, he is interested to take electrons. Why like this? In nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth family, they have NS2, NP3, that is 5 electrons in the valence shell. Here, if all the 5 electrons are removed, as you see in case of phosphoric acid, as you see in the case of nitric acid, if all the 5 electrons are removed by some agency, then this nitrogen is very much interested to take back the electrons. Somebody who is interested to take back the electrons is said to be a good oxidizing agent. Notice, nitric acid is a good oxidizing agent. After nitric acid, H2SO4 is also an oxidizing agent next to nitric acid. Even H3PO4 is also an oxidizing agent because here the central element is in highest possible oxidation state. Sir, if I take perchloric acid where chlorine is plus 7, it is the highest oxidation state I can think of is the best oxidizing agent. But if you look at fluorine is king of all oxidizing agents. Though fluorine has no charge, it is so crazy about electrons, it is the most powerful oxidizing agent. Oxidizing agent is one who eats away electrons from others. Sir, kindly see, ozone is also a good oxidizing agent. So who is an oxidizing agent? Was it? Yeah, you joined. I inquired about you. I remember your doubt. So H2O2 permanganate is a good what, sir? Permanganate is a good? Hello? Permanganate is a good oxidizing agent. Why? Because central element is in high oxidation state. Okay. Now there is a problem whenever you are writing somebody is reacting, somebody, you have to write the equation. You want to know you have 20 ml of 0.1 normal permanganate solution. This permanganate solution can oxidize what volume of H2O? If it is 0.2 normal. Notice, whenever something is taken and you are trying to react with something else, how much is reacting with how much is called stoichiometry problem. To address these problems, I would suggest normality scale is the best. It makes the life very easiest also. So what is this normality scale? What are the problems related to it? All this we have to learn. Slowly we will be learning. Before we go to our today's lesson called halogens, where we talk about fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and astatine. This is the 17th group. They are called halogens because they are making sea salts. These elements generate sea salts. All these elements have Ns2Np5, that is 7 valence electrons. Of course, all these are non-metals except astatine, which is a metalloid. About this family, we are going to study in detail. But before we study this, Wazid wanted me to speak for 5 minutes about hardness of water. And some other student wanted to talk to you about what is normality scale, why it is important. So these two general doubts, because they are useful to every student, I just want to present. Not more than 10 minutes. For tomorrow exam, once again I'm saying the examination portion is only 16th group and the material I have already shared with you, which you should see. So about examination, I give clarity. Now, about these two small doubts, will you please permit me to say these two small doubts, sir? One is about hardness of water, one is about normality. Is it okay? Whenever in water, carbonates sulfates, chlorides, and bicarbonates of calcium or magnesium or iron are dissolved, water gets hardness. What do you mean by hard water? Hard water is not hard like a rock. It is also like ordinary water. But the problem is with ordinary water, soap gives lather. Lather means barf. The more barf you get, more easy you can clean anything using the water. But hard water cannot easily give lather with soap. That's the problem. If you are not getting lather with soap, your cleaning action will be impaired. Generally, soap is a salt of fatty acid like C17, H35, COO, and a sodium stearate. Now, if water has calcium or magnesium or iron ions, they make a paste of Say calcium stearate, C17H35, COO, take it twice. The calcium stearate is not water soluble and it is a paste. Similarly, magnesium stearate, similarly iron stearate, they are pastes. When a white paste is precipitating, you are not getting lather. No lather, no cleaning action. Also, the hardness can cause thick scales in the bottom of boilers. So hardness is a nuisance. To remove hardness, there are methods. But here the question asked is, how much hardness is there? How do you know? Hardness can be expressed in ppm scale. Sir, what is ppm scale, sir? Parts per million. 1 kg means 1000 grams. Do we know this, sir? Hello? But every gram contains 1000 milligrams. So 1 kg is also equal to these many milligrams. 10 to the power 6 milligrams. Sir, million means 10 to the power 6. So if you are saying how many milligrams of hardness causing ions are there in 1 kg water, then you are saying hardness in ppm. Number of milligrams of a solute in 1 kg water is its concentration in ppm scale. Sir, are we very clear about it, sir? Suppose if you dissolve 1 milligram of sugar in water, 1 kg, then the sugar concentration is 1 ppm. Suppose if you dissolve 20 milligrams of glucose in 100 kgs of water, then it is 0.2 ppm. What do you mean by ppm? By ppm, you mean how many milligrams of solute is dissolved in 1 kg water. Sir, to say hardness, we take CaCO3 as standard, whose molecular weight is 100. As such, a CaCO3 is not soluble in water. As such, it cannot cause hardness. But still, hardness is expressed. Hardness of water expressed in terms of CaCO3 internationally. What you do is, who is causing hardness? Hardness of water is caused by, say, calcium chloride, say, calcium sulfate, say, magnesium chloride, say, magnesium sulfate, say, calcium bicarbonate, say, magnesium bicarbonate. Only these fellows, iron chloride, iron sulfate, so on. They only can cause hardness. Hardness is not mainly due to the negative ion, Cl minus ion, sulfate ion, bicarbonate ion. They are innocent. They are not playing any role. Who is causing hardness is this calcium ion, this magnesium ion, this calcium ion, this magnesium ion, this iron ion. Because the metal ions combine with sodium salt of your fatty acid and they convert them into the calcium salt or iron salt or magnesium salt of stearic acid. This is not soluble in water. It is causing hardness. So mainly villain which causes hardness is metal ion. Now we try to see the hardness in ppm scale. In ppm scale, what I do is I work out the molecular weight of the CaCl2. Molecular weight is 40 plus 71, 111. The molecular weight of the calcium sulfate is 40 plus 96. That is, it is 136. The molecular weight of the magnesium chloride can be 24 plus 71. That is 95. Like that, I work out the molecular weight of these fellows. For example, MgSO4 molecular weight is 24 plus 96, 120. So molecular weight of different salts which causes hardness is to be seen. Now what I do, if a water sample has 6 grams of MgSO4 dissolved in 50 kgs of water, what is its hardness is the problem. 6 grams of MgSO4 dissolved in 50 kgs of water. First what I do, MgSO4 is causing hardness whose molecular weight is 120. What I do is 120 molecular weight of MgSO4. CaCO3 molecular weight is 100. What I do is 120 is equal to 100. I equate the molecular weight of fellow who is causing hardness to that of CaCO3. Now, if I have 6 grams only dissolved, what is its mass? 100 by 120 into 6. It means 6 grams of MgSO4 is equivalent to 5 grams of limestone. Now, hardness is equal to milligrams of CaCO3 by mass of water in kg. It is 5 grams equal to 6 grams is converted to 5. 5 grams is 5000 milligrams divided by kgs of water. I have taken 50 kgs. So hardness of this water sample is said to be 100 ppm. So what are the 3 steps to find hardness in ppm scale? Find salt causing hardness. It can be CaCl2, it can be CaSO4, it can be MgCl2, it can be MgSO4, it can be calcium bicarbonate, whatever. Find its molecular weight, equate to CaCO3 100. Okay, find the mass of CaCO3 equivalent. Change mass of CaCO3 to milligrams. Finally, divide with mass of water in kgs. You get ppm scale. That's it. Check up these steps. Let us take a problem. 1.36 grams calcium sulfate was found in 10 kgs of water. What is its hardness in ppm scale? That's a problem. Do you know CaSO4 molecular weight is 40 plus 96, that is 136. Can you try this problem? Thank you for trying. Now I will solve myself. You said 1.36 grams of calcium sulfate dissolved in 10 kg water. First, CaSO for molecular weight must be equated to 100 grams molecular weight of water, CaSO. 136 is equal to 100 grams. 1.36 grams is equal to how much? 100 by 136 into 1.36. If I cut it, it is equal to 1 gram. It means 1 gram of CaCO3 equivalent is dissolved in 10 kg. Hardness is equal to 1 gram of CaCO3 means 1 gram multiplied with 1000 will give me milligrams divided by weight of water in kg. I keep always weight of water in kg, I won't change. When I cancel, it is 100 ppm. Are you very clear, sir? Hello? Thank you very much, sir. All of you, you should try to solve this problem in 1 minute. If you can solve in 1 minute, I understand you can do it. Are we ready? MgCl2 molecular weight is equal to 95. I would say 1.9 grams MgCl2 dissolved in 25 kg water. What is its hardness? Try this. So, ladies and gentlemen, somebody is giving answer. Let us see whether this answer is right or wrong. 95 grams of MgCl2 is equal to 100 grams of 100 grams of CaCO. Therefore, 1.9 grams is equal to how much? 100 by 95 into 1.9. So it goes how many times, sir? It is 190 by 95. Can you see it, sir? 190 by 95. 190 by 95 is equal to 2. It means that one 1.95 into 100 by 95. 1.9 grams dissolved in 25 kg. Sir, it is 1.9 grams. 1.9 grams dissolved in 25 kgs. So 1.9, how to convert, sir? 95 is equal to 100 grams CaCO3. By 95 to 1. Now 2 grams CaCO3. Now you have to convert it to milligrams. Hardness is equal to 2 into 1000. It is to convert into milligrams by 25. How much, sir? How much, sir? Are you very clear about it? So that is somebody's doubt. What is hardness? How it is estimated? Hardness is estimated in ppm scale. Now we are going to another area. How to remove hardness? Again, it is I am talking the lesson unnecessarily. Hardness can be removed by several methods like Calcon method. Calgum is sodium hexametaphosphate. It can be removed by permutate method. Permutate is sodium aluminosilicate. If I put hard water in that, the clay will absorb calcium, magnesium ions and release sodium ions. You have another method called the Clark method, wherein you will be adding calculated amount of calcium hydroxide to remove temporary hardness. In Clark method, you should calculate how much calcium hydroxide is to be added. If you add excess, you will get permanent hardness. You have yet another method like ion exchange resin method. There you pass the hard water through cation exchange resin, which will absorb calcium, magnesium ions, which cause hardness and release H plus ions. Anion exchange resin will absorb unnecessary minus ions like sulfate, chloride, bicarbonate and release OH minus ions. So the ion exchange resin method will give you ultra pure deionized water. All that lesson I am not interested to teach again. Only here problems you have difficulty, so I explain you how to do the problems. Otherwise, removal of hardness is not a big deal. I think you can read NCERT. Now we have no time to go there because I have to complete the current topic. So this is one doubt somebody asked me. Another doubt, sir, what is the normality scale? What is the normality scale? Why it is advantageous? This is another doubt somebody asked me. What is normality scale? Why it is advantageous? I will answer this and then proceed. I will not take much time. Sir, I am dissolving glucose in water. Then how concentrated the solution is? To express concentration of the solutions, we have many methods like weight by weight percentage or mass percentage. You have another method called molarity. You have another method called normality. You have another method called mole fraction. You have yet another method called molality. So what is weight or mass percentage? Let me clear all these boards. So what is mass percentage, sir? Or W by W percentage? It is one scale. Another scale is molarity. Another scale is normality. Another scale is molality. Another scale is mole fraction. Of course, another scale is ppm scale. These are all different methods to express different methods to express concentration of solutions. Okay, sir. What do you mean by mass percentage then? What do you mean by mass percentage? mass percentage means you will say weight of solute or salt dissolved divided by weight of solute plus weight of solvent into 100. Suppose if 2 grams glucose dissolved in 48 grams water, W by W percent or mass percent is equal to weight of glucose dissolved divided by weight of glucose plus weight of water into 100. It is equal to 2 by 50 into 100. It is 4% glucose solution. Are you very clear, sir? I would say if I have, suppose if I have 20% urea solution, what mass of urea dissolved in 200 grams solvent or water? A very interesting question. What do you mean by 20% urea solution? In fact, it has 20 grams of urea dissolved in 80 grams of water. Yes or no? Yes or no? Therefore, I want to know what mass of urea dissolved in 200 grams of solvent. I would say 20% is equal to weight of solute by weight of solute plus weight of water. Can you see it, sir? Weight of solute by weight of solvent plus weight of solute in 100 is 20%. Can you simplify it, sir? Yes, sir. Can you see it, sir? It means that you have dissolved 50 grams of urea in 200 grams of water to get 20% solution. You can cross check. I dissolved 50 grams by 50 plus 200 into 100. 50 by 250 into 100. Can you see it, sir? Hello, sir. What mass of urea must be dissolved in 200 grams water to get 20% W by W urea solution? Always remember 20% weight by weight is equal to weight of salt dissolved by weight of salt plus weight of solvent you have taken whole into 100. If you simplify, you will be getting W is equal to 50. Are we very clear about this concept of mass percentage? Hello. Similarly, you have many other scales. Of all these scales, normality scale is the best. Why it is best? Normally, in chemical reactions, you have the laborious method to write the equation. 2KMnO4, for example, reacts with 5H2O2 in presence of some acid to give you products. Now, if you are expressing concentration of solution in molarity, suppose you take VML of permanganate, whose molarity is M1, and you are reacting with H2O2, whose molarity is M2. What volume of H2O2 can react is given by V2. Notice that if you know molarity of this, if you know volume of this, if you know the volume of this H2O2 reacting, you can find molarity by using a formula M1 V1 by N1 is equal to M2 V2 by N2. It is called volumetric relationship. The purpose of this is you know the concentration of one solution, you don't know the concentration of other solution. The method of knowing the concentration of unknown solution using a known solution is sometimes called titration. Titrometric method. You take certain volume of solution whose concentration is known, and you will allow it to react with another solution whose concentration is to be found out. By allowing them to completely react, you will be noticing what volume of a solution whose concentration is known reacted with what volume of unknown solution whose concentration is not known. It is called problem solution because you don't know its concentration. It is standard solution, you know its concentration. Using standard solution, you want to find the concentration of problem solution. But the relation is complex. M1 V1 by N1 is equal to M2 V2 by N2, where N1 is number of moles of the first fellow reacting with the number of moles of other fellow in a balanced equation. So you can find the concentration of an unknown solution if you know molarity and also if you know balanced equation between them. But writing a balanced equation, knowing the equation is a nuisance. This is called volumetric relation. M1 V1 by N1 is equal to M2 V2 by N2. Any two fellows, any two solutions which are reacting can be related with this. If you know concentration of one fellow, volume of one fellow, if you know the volume of the other fellow reacting, you can find its concentration. Provided you know balance. Oxalic acid will become carbon dioxide. Manganese will become MnSO4. And carbon become carbon dioxide, and potassium will become K2SO4. I know clearly what are the products, but the problem is I have difficulty in balancing. How to balance it, man? It's a big nuisance, I tell you. Here manganese is +7. Here manganese is becoming +2. It means it is interested to gain 5 electrons. Here oxalic acid is +3. Two carbons, each carbon is +3. 2 carbons are +6. Here carbon became +4. Notice that these 2 carbons which were each +3, that is +6, became 2 CO2 where each carbon is +4, that is +8. +6 became +8 means 2 electrons loss. So this fellow is losing 2 electrons. This fellow is gaining 5 electrons. Now electron gainer is reacting with electron loser. That's very good. But I have to balance the equation. There is a big problem I have. How to balance, sir? I can balance it by knowing how to balance the equation, or simply I would say permanganate is actually gaining 5 electrons. Oxalic acid is actually losing 2 electrons per molecule. It is losing 2 electrons, put 2 here. It is gaining 5 electrons, put 5 here. So the number of electrons gained here is 2 5s are 10. The number of electrons lost here is 5 2s are 10. Now you equated the number of electrons lost to electrons gained. Yes. Have you done that? After doing this, you will not disturb them. Now here you have 2 KMnO4. So you have to write K2SO4, potassium are balanced. Here you have 2 Mn, you have to write 2 MnSO4, manganese is balanced. Here you have 10 carbons, you have to put 10 CO2. So all that is a big got. Here you have 2 sulfates, here you have 1 sulfate, you have to put 3 sulfuric acid. After doing all this, you got the equation. Now the correct answer is you got 8H2O. All this is a big nuisance. 2 KMnO4 reacts with 5 oxalic acid in presence of 3 sulfuric acid to give you K2SO4 plus 2 MnSO4 plus 5H2, 5O2, plus 10 CO2 plus 8 water. All this is beautiful if I know how to balance, but that is a nuisance. I want to know the concentration of oxalic acid. I know the concentration of permanganate, but I don't want to write equation. That is a problem. If I want to use molarity scale, I should know what molarity, what concentration of permanganate I have taken, what volume of permanganate I have taken. Here N1 is equal to 2. I don't know what is the molarity of oxalic acid. I don't know. I know what is the volume of oxalic acid is reacting in the laboratory. I know N2 is 5 from balanced equation. M1V1 by N1 is equal to M2V2 by N2. Using this formula, I can find molarity of oxalic acid. Notice M1V1 by N1 is equal to M2V2 by N2 is called volumetric relationship that is used to know the concentration of unknown solutions using the concentration of a known solution in the laboratory by titration method. However, in this method, if you are using molarity, you should know balance equation. This nuisance is solved if I use a normality scale. When I am using normality scale, I need not have to know the balance equation. For any one solution, N1V1 is equal to, for any other solution, N2V2. Simply, if I know normality of one solution, volume of the solution reacting, and if I know the volume of other solution which actually reacted, I can find normality. Normality scale makes life very simple. There is absolutely no complication. Universally, it is valid for any 2 fellows reacting. For any 2 solutions reacting, N1V1 is equal to N2V2. Normality scale is based on equivalent weight. That makes our life very, very simple. It is a universally valid relation. N1V1 is equal to N2V2. Okay, sir?
Yes.
Normality means what? Normality is defined as weight of any substance divided by its equivalent weight into 1000 by volume of solution in ml. From this, I can conclude that weight by equivalent weight is always equal to normality into volume in ml by 1000. This particular relationship is also universally valid. Whenever some material is reacting, some solid is reacting with some other solution, the other solution's normality, the other solution's volume divided by 1000 is definitely equal to the weight of the solid that is reacting divided by its equivalent weight. So weight by equivalent weight is equal to NV by 1000 is a universal relationship applicable for any 2 fellows which are reacting. N1V1 is equal to N2V2 is a universal equation applicable for any 2 solutions reacting. So normality scale has an enormous advantage. Actually, on the subject called normality, we can talk about some 3-4 days. Most of the IIT advanced problems are based on the concepts related to normality. We should have time to talk about it, but I'm scared of that tomorrow you will complain, Sir is telling something very difficult, so we are not able to follow like that, you may say. I'm scared of. But I tell you, though it is not particularly there in your textbook, but they are asking questions only on this concept. Minimum one question they are asking. I have discovered actually some 3 days back, I made a research. What are the very commonly asked questions? Like in that, this is a commonly asked question. Okay, sir. Thank you very much for appreciating. At least you understood 1% of what I said, I hope. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In
Understood,
chemistry,
sir.
often we have a difficulty is to know what is not known. To know what is not known, we have to use something which is known.
Yes,
For
sir.
example, you want to find the concentration of a solution. That is a problem solution. To know the concentration of problem solution, you use a solution whose concentration is known and which can react with that. Solution whose concentration is known and which can react with that is called standard solution. Using a standard solution, by measuring what volume of the solution is reacting with the unknown solution's volume, we can find its concentration. Best relation is N1V1 is equal to N2V2. When we get time, definitely we talk about this concept some other time leisurely. But at the moment, we are continuing with our simple work. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, only 2 days, I complete the 17th group. Wednesday, Thursday, I complete 18th group. Friday, I make a revision of all the P block elements. That marks the completion of second chapter in inorganic chemistry. First chapter we covered is organic chemistry, halogen derivatives. Second chapter we are completing next week is inorganic chemistry, P block elements. I hope you will enjoy. At the end of this week, next week, you will get an overall idea of what we have done. Thank you very much. This weekend syllabus is only 16th group. If you prepare Narayana material, if you have done exemplar problems, whatever that is in 16th group, you are likely to get 100%. Thank you very much.
Hello, sir.
I am closing my class. Thank you so much.
Hello, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, in Narayana material, which objectives we have to do in 16th group?
I told you 100 times. Again, you are asking. In the last, you can find previous IIT questions.
Yes, sir. That I know, sir.
Also, in the same page, there are some problems called numerical or integral type in the last exercise. That you should do. Also, you should try to do the very first exercise. Okay.
Okay.
And then you should definitely cover all problems in exemplar. So
Yes.
there are 3 tasks: reading textbook, doing exemplar, and doing Narayana material, first exercise and last exercise. Thank you very much.